Welcome to the show, everybody. Yes, we are live. Oh, you know what? This shirt here, for the people watching on the old YouTube there, this shirt tends to have the plunging neckline, so I'm buttoning that button. So there you go. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Farzy. This is a little program I like to call the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Austin Krell stops by the program. NBA draft is going on Thursday, and the Sixers have nothing to do with it. So that's pretty hilarious. We also have to get into this Phillies Braves series, of course, because here's where I'm at. I realize it's June. I also realize that the Phillies have won 13-15, as have the Braves, as have the Marlins, while the Mets have sucked. So we'll get into that conversation. So here you go. I am looking at this series as if it's a playoff series. There, it's out. It's out there. It's out there. I have playoff vibes about this series. I know it's June. I don't care. I absolutely cannot wait for this series against the Atlanta Braves to get started at 6:40 tonight with Ranger Suarez taking to the hill against Spencer Strider. I can't wait for it. I'm as excited as you could be for a series in June, okay? They returned from the 7-game road trip after having great success in the 7-game road trip. They have been doing a phenomenal job of winning baseball games lately. They played the Braves and split with them in that 4-game series in Atlanta, and then they got swept by the Mets, and then the Mets went in the tank, and the Phillies started playing a lot better, and that's where they started this nice series run of just winning successive series. For me, this series tonight is a huge line of demarcation to the season. It's a huge milestone to the season, and it is absolutely without question a measuring stick of just how good you have become in the recent weeks of the 2023 MLB season. That's where I'm at going into it. You might think it's overhyped. You might think that I'm overexcited for it, but I'm just being real. Don't tell me how to feel. Don't tell me how to feel. Anyway, that's where I'm at. That's right. And you know where else I'm at? I am in a very difficult position here because, like any good dad, so I'm on a text chain with some friends of mine that are also in the suburbs now. And the title of the text chain is Washed Suburban Dads. Like we're all washed up in our New Balances and our electric mowers, whatever. But on Father's Day, I was doing some yard work. Like I don't even mean intense yard work. I mean maybe 20 minutes of, there's some prickly bushes and vines that are growing into my yard in an area that Leo likes to run around now and all that stuff. So I'm like, let me trim those back because, I love my children, right? So I go around and with the clippers, right? And the little handheld ones and then the bigger ones, I'm going around and I'm trimming these things back off the fence so my son doesn't run into them, And I do that. I don't touch any of them. I don't pick any of them up. I have gloves on, but I was wearing short sleeves. So I don't know what the hell I got now on my arm. I'm not even going to show you because you might think it's gross. You might think it's really gross and stuff. It is, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's poison ivy. I don't know what the hell it is. I thought I got bit. I thought I had like a mosquito bite. We spray our yard because we have deer running through our yard and stuff. So we spray our yard. And so ticks and stuff. I don't want the ticks. So I don't know what the hell's on my arm. And it's like on my forearm and it's red. It's very itchy, so it'll be a test of my maturity as to whether or not I can actually go through this show without scratching the ever-loving hell out of my forearm. So in the comments, if you see me reach for the forearm, and I'm just like, you know that I'm trying to fight temptation, but you'll know if you see I'm losing because I don't know how I didn't wake up and just like in my sleep just scratch the hell out of this. So that's where I'm at, folks. And for anyone out there that has any remedies for this, I tried the cortisone. Still itchy. So that's where I'm at. Oh, I just did it. There we go. See, that's where we're at. So, So if you dads out there on Father's Day try to do the yard work, right, like you should, because it's not Father's Day unless you're working. Just let me know your remedies, folks. Let me know I have 15 years in landscaping, and this is a breakout. This is a breakout. Hey, speaking of breaking out, the Phillies really broke out. All-time great segue. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what has pulled them into this kind of hot streak that they are in right now. I don't know what has led them to win 13 of 15 games. But whatever it is, man, is it working. Yesterday, when I was doing my hit on Fox 29, Alex Holly asked the question, what is it about June? And there is no real answer to this. When they asked Kyle Schwarber about it 2 weeks ago, he responded by saying he doesn't even know, but he likes it. he wishes every season didn't seem to go like this, especially in his 2 years here in Philadelphia, where he's just not sure about why in the month of June he all of a sudden starts going off, and all of a sudden he's had a 270 batting average with 7 home runs in his last 16 games. How did that happen? I don't know. But it's happened. And for whatever reason, the Phillies look at the beginning portion of this season as if it is just a warm-up lap to June. I've talked about it on this show before. The Phillies used to have this on-deck series, which essentially was a way to sell more tickets and make more money from spring training games, essentially, but do it in South Philadelphia. And the Phillies literally treat the first 2 months of the season like they're the on-deck series. Like, all right, we're still getting ramped up. This is still like preseason baseball. This is still spring training baseball. It doesn't really matter. Well, it totally matters. It counts. And meanwhile, the Braves, they just seem to know how to play baseball from the get-go. But Alex Holly asked me the question. I'm like, I don't know if analytics people can contact their friends in weather and figure out whether or not the barometric pressure in June just hits this Phillies squad differently or hits Citizens Bank Park differently, and the Phillies just play better brand of baseball in the month of June. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But all I know is whatever I am seeing, I am loving. A couple of things coming out of that Mets series that if I would have told you after they got swept by the Mets, and they lost that first game to the Nationals in that series where Zach Wheeler only went 3 2/3 and just got shelled in that outing. If I would have told you at that moment, hey, come here, fellow Phillies fan. Come on over. Yeah, I'm going to use the podcast voice. Come over here. Come hither. Don't worry. Don't fret. This Phillies squad is going to win 13 out of the next 15 games. They're going to go on. And they're going to win now, what is it? Nationals, Tigers, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, A's, 5 straight series. Ranger Suarez is going to look virtually unhittable. Zach Wheeler is going to put 3 starts together of not allowing more than a run in those starts. And he's going to take a no-hitter into the 8th inning. What? Aaron Nola is going to have a start where he takes no-hitter in the 7th inning. Taijuan Walker will be virtually unhittable as well. And you're going to have a couple bullpen games. And then Aaron Nola is going to be bad for 1 start. But then they're still going to win 13-15. Oh, and Kyle Schwarber is definitely going to go on that nice run. All that. So for me, if I would have told you that, what would you have told me? Would you say I'm crazy? I'm too optimistic? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I consider myself a fairly optimistic person. I try to be as real as possible. If I got to go negative, I'm not being negative. I'm just being real. I wouldn't have thought that was possible. The Phillies were going to go on this kind of run. Oh, even in June? Yes, in June. Especially going on that road trip where they hadn't been able to win on the road. 371 winning percentage on the road. Pretty terrible. I was trying to do the math yesterday. With 19 wins now on the season, what do they get? 30% of their road wins in one road trip? That's pretty remarkable. Looking at that Phillies team as they were in Arizona and then as they were in Oakland. Pretty remarkable. That's how good the road trip was. You get 6 wins, and all of a sudden it's 30% of your wins on the road this season. Now just keep winning at home, baby. Just keep winning at home. It does give me great optimism. Now, a couple of things. One, if I would have told you that, you probably told me I'm crazy. And then the other, if I would have told you that this pitching staff would have come around, you probably told me I was crazy. The other thing is that if I would have told you 2-3 weeks ago, Derek Hall, when he's healthy, will not be playing first base for the Phillies, Cody Clemens has stolen that mantle, has taken that mantle as the Phillies starting first baseman, you probably would have said I'm crazy as well. But yet here we are. Phillies have won 13 of 15. Their starting rotation has certainly figured it out. And Cody Clemens is your first baseman for the foreseeable future. Yesterday, Derek Hall got activated off the injured list and was immediately set to AAA. Thanks, but no thanks. Thanks for getting healthy. Sorry about your thumb. Glad you're back. Glad you'll be ready when we need you. But as of right now, Cody Clemens is our first baseman. Oh, well, what? And here we are. Couple of incredible things. Now, how are the Phillies at this spot? Why are the Phillies at this spot? How did they go on this run? Look, let's forget about the calendar for a second and forget about that easy excuse that it's June and they just seem to hit their stride and play a better brand of baseball now. Why is it? Look, I've had my issues with a lot of people, as a lot of people have with Rob Thompson. And I like Rob Thompson. And I never once said, fire Rob Thompson. Maybe once sarcastically. Whatever this guy does with this lineup and this clubhouse, it seems to work. It might not make sense to a lot of us, and I have certainly not liked his lineups, and I have not liked Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. I think with Trey Turner here and Bryson Stott hitting the way he was hitting, I don't like how he has maneuvered this lineup. I've told you guys many times, I didn't like game one, especially just as an example against the Diamondbacks. The idea of starting Guthrie in center and Sosa at third and not having Clemens at first, but instead moving Bohm over to that spot, and then Harrison was your starting second baseman. It's like, what are you? The three guys that are normally in this lineup are going to put in this lineup in a bullpen game? That's a little ridiculous. And of course, the offense was not the problem in that game. But I don't like it. I still don't like Kyle Schwarber leading off. But you know what? If he's hitting home runs and he's mashing, I love it. And he made the point following the series against the Oakland A's that Bryson Stott hits anywhere in the lineup. Kyle Schwarber, and not so much. Bryson Stott will have 6 to 10 pitch at bats batting out of the 6 hole or 7 hole in this lineup because that's just his approach. Kyle Schwarber says that it doesn't really make a difference for him when he signed with the Phillies. He said he's just trying to have good at bats. He figured out what it is to be a leadoff hitter, just trying to have good at bats. And for whatever reason, he just has the best at bats at the top of the order. And the whole idea behind it, the intimidation factor, the making the wheels turn as early as possible for the opposing starting pitcher. Like, you don't think Spencer Strider right now is thinking, okay, I gotta face Kyle Schwarber tomorrow. First thing, when I get out of the mound, Kyle Schwarber's the first guy I'm going to be staring down the barrel of as I go and take the mound at Citizens Bank Park. Not only is it going to be 3 hours, 4 hours of hell at CBP, it's got to be Kyle Schwarber leading things off for me. There's a intimidation factor there. And then Trey Turner, I know the experts will say that he's moving his head less and all that, and that could be very much the case, and that's what everybody is saying. I can tell you right now, as a non-Major League Baseball player, I can't give you that type of analysis. But if that's what they're saying, 300 batting average in the month of June, getting on base at 350 a clip, okay, yeah, I guess he's not moving his head, but he's swinging it back. Okay. It took him a while to figure that one out. Apparently it's working. His turnaround has also helped dramatically with this team. And then the person that I look at more than anybody, more than Bryce Harper, more than Nick Castellanos, who has just done a phenomenal job all season of being a professional hitter in the batter's box. The guy that I look at is JT Realmuto. What he has been able to do in this month and what he's been able to do over his last 6-7 games, he has just been remarkable. You talk about a guy locked in, dialed in, what he's been behind the plate for this team. When I watch JT Realmuto, I see a field general. And when he is playing well, I feel like this whole team goes the way he goes. I've pointed out many times last year about last year, after that Toronto series that he didn't play in, he turned it on. And I remember going into that series, even before he announced he wasn't playing, I remember going on this long rant about JT Realmuto and how if he's not playing like the best catcher in baseball, this Phillies team's not going to make the playoffs unless he turns it around. And he turned it around. This Phillies team made the playoffs. He is that field general on the team. And I know guys will be maybe bigger leaders when it comes to Bryce Harper or it comes to Kyle Schwarber. But just having Rhys Hoskins in the dugout again seems to have lifted this team's spirits. But JT Realmuto, I just feel like when you watch him play, you're watching the guy that is the commander. He's the guy calling the shots, not just the pitches, but he's the guy calling the shots on the field. And I feel like where he goes, this Phillies team goes, and this Phillies team follows. And right now, with him getting hot and all these other guys getting hot at the same time, I think you watch these guys follow suit when it comes to what you're seeing from JT Realmuto. So that's why I think this team has done so well. And then we talk about the starting pitching. I mean, you can talk about so many non-bullpen games of at least 6 innings. So you're at least spelling your bullpen when you have the opportunity to spell your bullpen. And then, of course, you're running through the wall in the bullpen games because you don't have a fifth starter. But them giving you those opportunities to have some fresh arms coming out of the bullpen time and time again and putting up numbers. And even Aaron Nola's last start, he had one really bad inning. And hopefully he can right the ship going into this Braves series. Let's look at the starting pitching matchup for today. 6:40 start time. Phillies and Braves get this 3-game series underway in South Philadelphia. Spencer Strider against Ranger Suarez. Strider 7-2 on the season with a 4.12 ERA. What? Ranger Suarez 1-2 with a 3.82 ERA. Let's look at Strider for a second here, okay? This is his last 5 starts. Now, if you see their second up from the bottom, 11-4 win, 11-2-4 win, 11-4 win against the Phillies, of course, is what he tacked on a couple weeks ago. 6 innings, you can see right there. 2 earned runs. He did allow that home run. But his last 2 starts, let's focus on this for a second here. 13 earned runs in his last 2 starts. And look at the competition. The Mets. He got chased in the 4th inning after allowing 8 runs against the Mets. He issued 2 walks, 2 home runs. Then in his last start, back on the 14th, so going on 6 days rest today, still though, these are wins. These are wins for the Braves. All right, he goes up against the Tigers and allows 3 home runs, including back-to-back home runs in the second inning, I want to say, against the it was Cabrera and Haas that took him deep in back-to-back at-bats. And he allowed 5 runs in 5 innings of work on 7 hits, 3 home runs in total, and again, 2 walks. Hey, look, he's not pitching his best brand of baseball right now. Maybe now is the time to jump on him. The Braves, the lineup is going to be the biggest problem. Most home runs in the majors. Olsen just continues to hit jacks left and right. 20 home runs on the season now for him. Same as Kyle Schwarber. Want to see those two guys go at it in this series. Maybe some little bit of home run derby between those two. Hopefully with the Phillies coming out on top of that. But the pitching for the Braves, especially with Spencer Strider, has been an issue. The non-problem, the savior in all of it, is that if you are going to allow 8 runs, 13 runs in total, and that's 2 starts, well, then your team better score, what was it now? Oh, let me see here. 23 runs in your last couple starts? Yeah, then I think you'll be okay. If you have 23 runs in the last 2, I think that's spotting your starting pitcher a good amount of runs. I think that's good right there. So Phillies 6:40 start time against the series that I am already getting playoff vibes from, baby. Don't tell me it's June. Don't tell me it's before the All-Star break. Oh, we just started counting wins, right? Memorial Day, right? That's where you start looking at the standings, right? That's what you're supposed to. I'm in, man. I can't wait. And then hopefully after this series, no matter what happens, they can beat the hell out of the Mets because the Mets are terrible. I mentioned the Mets. So yeah, Phillies, Braves, Marlins, all 13 and 15. All winners of 13 of the last 15 games. Phillies, Braves, and Marlins. And then the Mets suck. The Mets have only won 4 of their last 15. They won last night 11-1. Max Scherzer had the start for them. So, I am enjoying seeing the Mets suck. While I'm on the subject of baseball, I was going to wait for the morning rush, but I want to get to this right now. I mentioned Derek Hall is optioned down to AAA. Joey Votto made his return to baseball. I know Joey Votto is this lightning rod figure for a lot of people in baseball with the way he'll taunt fans in opposing ballparks with giving people foul balls but not giving them foul balls, right? Played his first game in a year and a half, returns to the lineup, home run, and an RBI single. 2 for 3 on the day, and the Reds win their 8th straight. So that's something. And then also a rise for the Marlins. He's back to hitting 400 again. He had his 3rd 5-hit game of the month. 3rd 5-hit game of the month. You talking about guys getting hot in June? I mean, this guy's been hot all season long. 400? He's hitting 400 right now. Unbelievable. Just a couple of notes about the baseball world. Let's talk some hoops before we get to Austin Krell here. Ladies and gentlemen, the 76ers have a draft on Thursday, but they don't. The NBA has a draft on Thursday, and it's going to be without the Sixers, at least as of right now. I think Tobias Harris is going to be back. I know he's become a big conversation because he's going into the final year of his contract, and there could be other teams looking to take on his money to get to the cap floor, or there could be other teams looking to take his money just because it expires at the end of this year and whatever. If he's going to be traded, I'm curious to see if this week is the week he gets traded. If he's going to get traded. I still think he's going to get back. When Austin Krell joins us, he thinks something different. But I wonder if the Sixers are going to try to get back into this draft somehow, and if they're going to use Tobias Harris as a part of that. So the draft is Thursday. Today's Tuesday. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens over the next couple of days. And it could even happen on draft night, too, where the Sixers could try to trade in to the first round, second round, whatever it might be, and Tobias Harris could be a part of that. So if he is going to move, always curious to see what goes on around the draft. As of right now, nothing's solid, nothing's concrete. Now, the number one story of the offseason after Doc Rivers got fired is what is going to happen with James Harden. As you guys know, I am getting closer and closer to him returning. And after this conversation with Austin Krell, I am now pretty positive that he's going to be returning to the 76ers. Austin references a source. There's been a lot of people that have come out now and said something similar, that James Harden, things are trending in the direction of James Harden. I think it was Jake Fisher had a similar story as well. Things are trending in the direction for James Harden to come back. I know we got a lot of time with Tyrese Maxey, and he's going to be signing his rookie extension and all that. I'm all for allowing players room to grow. And with James Harden here, Tyrese Maxey does not have that much room to grow. So I don't want James Harden back. But if I have to accept that he's coming back, it can't be anything. It certainly cannot be a 4-year, $210 million max deal. Maybe he signs another 2-year deal, player option in the second year, and maybe it's for close to max money in that 1 or 2 years. Maybe it's spread out more, gives you more flexibility in 2 years. I don't know, but I know one thing. It cannot be a max contract. That would put the Sixers in cap hell. And you want to talk about the process being a failure, which I don't even think is a debate, for the record. It's a failure. The bigger debate is why it was a failure. But that would be a complete about face from the process, where not only did you start out with 5 first-round picks, a ton of cap space, and all that from the time Hinkie was pushed out, you're going to be in cap hell if you put James Harden on a max deal. Now, it's still not going to be easy if you sign into a 1-year deal with another player option, or a 2-year deal with a third-year player option, but it won't be as bad as a 4-year, $210 million deal, I'll tell you that much. At least you can see the end. Now, I'm curious to see the effect Nick Nurse will have in this offense, and what he'll do defensively with this team, how he'll use Joel Embiid, whether or not he'll use a minute restriction, whether or not he'll be a big fan of load management like he was with Kawhi Leonard, and how he called on that experience during his press conference. So I'm interested to see, as we all are. Austin has a lot of good things to say about Nick Nurse and his style. He's been watching a lot of tape. He wrote a story for his new publication, by the way. He switched publications. He's gone from the Painted Lines to 97.3 ESPN as their Sixers insider there. So he's writing pieces for them there. That's where you guys can check him out. But yeah, he gets into this interesting conversation about Nick Nurse and what he could do with this offense. Nick Nurse at his press conference talked about how Joel Embiid, he's going to be looking at him to be more of a facilitator. Nikola Jokic is similar, but definitely not a triple-double type of numbers from Joel Embiid. But I'm curious to see. I think that right now, when you look into this offseason, the free agency pool, as we've talked about, is not great. Your biggest free agent signing is going to be Nick Nurse. Will it be enough? Yeah, I hope so. And if they do end up moving Tobias Harris, I don't know what your starting 5 looks like. That'll be something the Sixers have to figure out, of course. But we'll get into all that and more with Austin Krell coming up in just a second. But right now, let me tell you about my man, Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven has been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people get engaged and fall in love each and every day. So go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut and experience the perfect price. Experience the man that has his staff of real jewelry professionals. Make you feel like a real family member at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Now, what's that perfect price? The perfect price is a price that is just that, perfect. While other jewelers are marking things way up, just to mark it down a couple of bucks in front of you, Steven keeps it at that perfect price, so you don't have to feel the pressure of haggling, negotiating. You don't have to worry about that. You're just getting taken care of by a real jewelry expert that, once again, wants to make you feel like a real family member at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers. Without further ado, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, talk to our friend Austin Krell. Should I be heartbroken that the Sixers missed out on Bradley Beal? Should I be really upset about that, or is there just a better path to go ahead?
You should not be upset about them not getting Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, a very good two gardens league, averaged 23 points a game. His jump shot took a step back last couple of years. We can debate whether that's because he wasn't that good or whether defenses had to key on him more because the Wizards are not very good. Otherwise, the bottom line is he is arguably the worst contract in the NBA. He has a full no trade clause. So, and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that moves with him. So even if they wanted to move him, let's say a year from now they decide, okay, it hasn't worked out, let's move him. They would have, he would have been able to say, well, no trade clause. So, and that would have been a headache in itself. But the guy is making $40 million and change this season. He was about to average $50 million per year. And he's never been a great 3-point shooter. And I think if you look at the fact that he is apathetic at best on defense, how does that gel with Tyrese Maxey? You have an undersized, you have one guy in Beal who is an adequately sized shooting guard. You have a guy in Tyrese Maxey who is an undersized shooting guard. You're going to have arguably the worst defensive backcourt in the NBA. That puts a lot more pressure on Joel Embiid, although James Harden certainly isn't anything to write home about defensively. But at least James Harden can back it up on offense with an array of playmaking abilities in addition to his scoring, even if his lows are very low. So I just don't see the fit in Philadelphia. Quite frankly, I don't see the fit in Phoenix either. I think it was I think that the deal that sent Beal to Phoenix was the ultra rare. Yes, the team that sent the best player out got basically nothing in return for him, but the team that took him in also has four guys making over $30 million, and it's not a great fit, and they don't have a point guard, and they're already $4 million below the second apron, so they really are tongue-tied what they can make, and they only have a roster consisting of 8 guys. So they're gonna have to find a way to move money around and turn this guy or that guy, maybe DeAndre Ayton, into multiple role players. They're going to be extremely top heavy, and I don't know that Beal is the guy that you want to go all in to make that for. I think and above all that, they are a very mid-range heavy team, which is great, but in some cases the math is going to win, and 3 is going to be worth more than 2. So if you're shooting 65% on mid-range jumpers for a game, but other team hits 16, 17, 18 threes, I don't know that it's going to go your way all the time. So I do think that it is a bizarre fit at best in Phoenix. If you ask me, I think the best place for him would have.
Oh, what a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger. You froze for 1 second. The best place for him would be what or where?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Okay. That was so perfect. The digital gods where they're playing with us right there. The best place for him was to be Milwaukee. Okay, fair enough. So here's where I'm at, and I agree with everything you're saying there. Paying him for an additional 4 years, and it'd be like having Tobias Harris, his contract all over again, but worse, I think. When it comes to James Harden, though, I mean, I don't know. I felt like he was definitely not back. And then I felt maybe he's back. And now I feel like I'm at 50-50 that he does come back. I don't know if it's got to be the Nick Nurse deal. Obviously, it's got to be the fact that Doc Rivers isn't here anymore. Where are you and what have you heard about the return of James Harden?
I was actually talking to someone who is connected to an agency in the NBA yesterday, and they said that they have heard that the winds have turned and that James will likely be heading back to Philadelphia. That isn't directly from the horse's mouth, obviously, but that is people who are plugged in. So I do think that it's closer to 60-40 that he is back in Philadelphia now. I think Houston is slowly losing their optimism that he was going to come back. Although, quite frankly, if Houston wanted him, they could have paid him and he would have gotten a plane and gone. He would have, it sounds like by all accounts, Houston was his first choice to come back, was to go home. So the fact that he isn't kind of, in some ways of framing it is running back to the Sixers now, it tells me that Houston wasn't all that interested or, concerned with his services. So I think there is a little bit of pride at stake there, but also, from the start, from the moment the offseason began, the Sixers stance that they have been willing to reveal has been, we're not going to cave to giving him a max, especially if that is not what his market is. We would be interested in, a multi-year deal. I've gotten the feeling that that's something in like the 2-year range. So if it's 2 years and, a base salary raise from his last season's salary where he's like making 38 to 40 million. And it's without even doing the math. I don't know exactly what the amount they can give him is, but I would imagine it's somewhere in that vicinity, in that ballpark. I think it could look like that. Maybe a 2-year +1, maybe another 1+1 with a player option. I think there is reason for him to think, like, let's give Nick Nurse a chance here. It does not sound like he and Doc were on the best of terms when things ended. Of course, that would have helped if they didn't get blown out in Game 7. Maybe you kind of can put your differences aside. But the fact that they went out with a whimper, there's probably some reflection there. Maybe if that head coach who was riding me was a little different, we wouldn't have gone out like that. So I do think everyone thinks a little bit differently when you get your butt kicked like that. But I don't think he and Doc ended on the best of terms. So, now you have a new, fresh head coach in there, maybe a guy that you like more, that you're willing to listen to more. But also, the team that you were rumored to want to go to didn't offer you what you thought you were worth, and you already took a discount last season. And at some point, it's like, well, I think I'm worth more than this, and darn it, I'm going to get my money. So, I think that's where James is. And Houston has kind of gravitated away from not only the desire to have him back, but also the feeling that he's going to come back. I mean, everything you hear now is Houston is starting to think that maybe he won't come, and maybe that they were being used as leverage, and the Sixers are now increasingly confident. Those are all the rumors out there, and typically when there's smoke, there's fire. So I expect my acting expectation at the moment, and I do believe the way that the Sixers are operating in some levels is they are thinking, okay, James, it will be on our team. That's partly because he has a player option. So either he's going to be under contract via opt-in, or they could re-sign him. But I think, the way that they have thought about and envisioned their team, that vision has included James. So I expect him to be back.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like possibly opt out of the player deal or player option, and then they re-sign him to a 2-year deal for still close to max money for those 2 years, but certainly not $210 million that they'd be sold to. Right. And now maybe, a year from now, he and Nick Nurse don't get along, and he wants wants to leave, and then maybe he's going, maybe he opts out after year 1 and he goes back to Houston. But I think right now the prospects are like, the money may be close, or maybe the Sixers are offering more, or what have you, or maybe the Rockets are offering a little more. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not privy to those details. But then there's also the factor of, well, I want to win, and am I going to, unless Houston is blowing my socks off with this offer, am I really going to just jump the ship and leave a situation where I have a chance? Especially now that Miami didn't get Bradley Beal, and and the Bucks didn't get Bradley Beal. The teams that are, who knows what the future holds for those teams. But am I going to jump the ship that I was on and leave the partnership that I have with Joel to go back to a situation where my best player
is a second and third year player who hasn't really taken the jump yet. There's a lot of, there's a lot of image stuff at play here that I think, even if you get the money that you want, you still might not be so comfortable with how you're perceived publicly if you're running from Philadelphia to go to a team that was, the second worst team in the league last year.
Mm-hmm. If you're standing next to Daryl Morey and you're in the front office right now, you just told me what you think could happen here. But if you're standing next to Daryl Morey and Daryl looks at you and says, "Hey, Austin, I don't know what to do here. Should I bring James Harden back?" What are you telling Daryl Morey? Should James Harden be back in Philadelphia?
I'm telling him that unless you have a deal for Steph Curry where you're not including Joel Embiid, then I think your best course forward is to get the guy who was arguably one of the 5 best point guards in the league last year. Continuity is important. We just saw the Denver Nuggets win a title, and their whole thing has been, when they've had when Jamal Murray got healthy, they were going to be ready. They were going to have that continuity. And guess what? They won the playoff. They won the championship largely because their role players had extensive continuity with their best player. So I think there is something to be said about not shape-shifting yet again and, running it back with most of that core. But I do think that the Sixers have to be prudent in that the second apron that the league has introduced and all of the maneuvers the new CBA has introduced, all of that is to thwart off super teams. And Phoenix is trying to, go in the other direction at the last second while everyone's trying to, cut big salaries. So they're trying to make one last push, hope that wins them a title. But the Sixers have to be very careful now because you are one bad deal, like one bad big money deal. It's not just them, but everybody in the league now away from being in a very bad spot. Because if you have a contract that you can't get off of and you don't have to worry about, well, we're going to be up close to the second apron, and that means we're going to lose taxpayer mid-level exception, and we're going to not be able to use our trade exceptions going forward. Those are very, very, very crippling situations to be in. So I think the Sixers have to act carefully. And I think that might mean, moving Tobias Harris. I think there's growing expectation that he could be moved. I think the big key date is the draft night coming up this week. But I do think that if I'm advising Daryl Morey, I'm saying bring back the guy who helped lead you to one of the 3 best offenses in the league, and maybe you do some shape shifting around the edges, but gamble on a new coach coming in here who can, help implement some new things. I mean, I wrote in the piece that I published this morning that I went back and watched a lot of the Raptors film with Nick Nurse, and I think a lot of what he does philosophically is really good offensive stuff. And I think if you give him the talent, I don't think he had great talent in Toronto the last couple of years after Kawhi and after Kyle Lowry left. So you give him the talent, I think he can really make some things happen. So I think you run it back, hope that a new voice works. And I mean, we'll see how it goes. Maybe this time you're a 2 seed in the East, or maybe the 1 seed, and then you're not playing the Boston Celtics the second round.
I like the strategy just being, don't face the Celtics. Whatever you do, just don't face the Celtics again in the second round of the playoff. That's a good strategy. That's definitely a good strategy, especially if you're the Sixers. Let's talk about Tobias Harris.
What if we just didn't face the good teams? Like what if the strategy was let's just play the bad teams as long as we can.
Yeah, I know. People are like, well, what about the Hawks? Yeah, the number 1 seed. Then it didn't seem to work too well. Well, just maybe is there a thing called like a second round bye? Can you have a bye in the second round of the play? Can we have that in the NBA somehow? Anyway, Tobias Harris. My assumption is that he is back, that he is in the starting 5 again next year. I don't think they unload him in the offseason. If they do, I'd be very curious to see what they can get back for him. But I think he's back. What do you think about Tobias Harris?
I do not think he'll be back.
Okay.
I believe that pretty sincerely that he will not be back. I just think there are too many teams around the league who are getting ready to head towards a rebuild. I think Washington, the prime example of that, where they're like, hey, we'll take on, some bad money. They'll give us a pick or two. I mean, Washington has Kristaps Porzingis, who makes similar money and is a better fit for the Sixers than Tobias is. They just traded Bradley Beal for pennies. That was a different situation because they had to. But, I could see that being a good matchup for the Sixers trade-wise. There are other teams like the Detroit Pistons, like the maybe the Spurs, or the Oklahoma City Thunder, teams that have these draft capital, who are thinking, we need a little bit more veteran presence. And what if we brought in, this guy is on an expiring deal, we get a pick to bring him on too. But then, hey, maybe at the deadline, and if we're 30 games under 500, we flip him to somebody else who needs a forward. There could be a team whose starting forward tears an ACL, knock on wood, but that's the reality of sports. He tears his ACL and suddenly they're like, we need a 4. Let's go pick up Tobias Harris and for the last half of his 1 year remaining. And, and then that's a win-win. So I do think that there are enough teams out there who would be willing to take him for at least half a season, who are not trying to be competitive, who, would be willing to give you something back for him. Now, I don't think you're going to get a great return unless, I think Porzingis is the high A, 95 percentile outcome for Tobias on a return. But if you're, water gun to my head, I'm saying I don't think he'll be back.
I like the water gun. I like the water gun at that. All right, so let's look at free agency then. I'm seeing mixed things about Fred VanVleet. The Sixers were in, the Sixers are not in. He's here, he's not, whatever. But is there anyone, Fred VanVleet or anyone out there in the free agency world that you see is not only a good fit or likely, but somebody that you'd like to see here in Philadelphia? So
I think Fred VanVleet as like your sixth man is a good get. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good fit. He'll get up 10 threes a game if you're playing him next to Joel in a second unit. I think that's a very good fit. He won $30 million per year, the rumors are. So I don't think, they just simply don't have the space for that, especially if they already have 2 starting guards who are, one of which was Tyrese Maxey, the other is James Harden. You're going to be paying Maxey, I think, like a rookie max extension starting next year. So do you have, you don't have enough space to pay 3 guards that kind of money.
Wow.
I don't really see the fit, but also I get the sense that maybe like he isn't at the forefront of their plans per se. I think there was interest in him coming, on his end, and maybe they've, I don't know this, but maybe they have had discussions, but I just don't see the fit there. I would be interested to see like maybe if a Chris Paul gets bought out, would there be interest there? The Los Angeles Clippers are rumored to be in on him, and so are the Lakers. Would he be willing to accept a second unit role as like a 6th man? Would he trust Daryl Morey again after Daryl traded him to Oklahoma City? Would he want to play with James Harden again? But that's a guy who is not going to be making a ton of money on his next deal, and the veteran minimum is increasing. It's like 2 3s, I think, that this upcoming season. So maybe he's willing to take that kind of money to be on a contender. But that would be the kind of guy I'd be looking at if the name is readily available. I think what we're seeing here is it's not a very strong free agency class. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if many of the current Sixers free agents, like a George Niang, like a Paul Reed, Jalen McDaniels, those guys are back. If nothing else, Paul Reed and McDaniels would be, because I believe they have both their bird rights. So.
Gotcha. Last thing, as far as the Sixers go, there's talk right now about Joel Embiid advancing his offensive game, being more of a facilitator. Yes, be a little bit more like Nikola Jokic. Do you think that is a goal of Nick Nurse, to turn Joel Embiid into a little bit more of a facilitator from the block?
Yeah, because for one reason he said it at his press conference. Yeah. Second is if when you go back and you watch the Raptors. When they got Scotty Barnes, and then before that, when they had Marc Gasol, they were very good cutting teams. The reason they were good cutting teams is because they had good playmaking around the middle of the floor. So, you have guys setting a screen, he's rolling, and then, they're throwing an entry to him. And then you have guys cutting around him. So I think the more that Joel's teammates feel like he is comfortable and capable passer, the more they will cut around him. And I think one of the keys to Nick Nurse's offense is getting defenses rotating and moving. And so if you have a guy cutting and he's getting backdoored, and then you have a helper coming to rotate, and you have a guy open in the corner for three, that's all left-right ball movement. And those are the things that make them a better offense. So I do think that is a key of what Nick Nurse would ask of Joel, is to become a better and more willing passer.
All right, gotcha. It's the offseason, my friend. What does a Sixers writer do in the offseason? What are you doing?
He goes to the shore a lot, has a couple beers. He changes publications, of course, is what he does. Yeah.
Fantastic. Austin Krell joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Austin. Hey, how you doing? Thanks, Austin Krell. Appreciate him stopping by the program. Here's the. I'm going to let you guys in here, a little inside baseball, okay? So that interview had to be edited for one time, and two, the bad internet connection, and three, it had to be edited because at the end of the interview, when I say to Austin, I say, Austin, what does a writer do in the offseason and all that stuff? And he's like, I go to the beach, I change publications. And I'm like, I'm saying, say what now? Change. Did you say change publications? He went from the painted lines, and I had him as the painted lines in the lower third, the little crawl there along the line. I had him as for the painted lines, and he changed publications. I was like, when the hell did you do that? He was like, oh, just last Friday. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel as bad now because my wife had strep throat, my daughter had strep throat, and that has been last 4 days of my life has been taking care of the family. Oh, and getting poison ivy or whatever the hell this is I have. So I don't feel that bad that I missed it, but I didn't want to leave that in the interview, but I just figured I'd tell you guys because we're all friends here. We're in the circle of trust. We're in the trust tree. That's what we're doing. By the way, I did see T-Bro say he wants to see the rash. T-Bro, I will only show you the rash if when I do the chat check, the last comment that I see right before I wrap up the chat check, if the last comment is, show the rash, then I'll show you the rash. Because I give the audience what the audience wants, folks. I give the audience what. When you guys don't want the plunging neckline, I button the button. You're welcome. If you guys want the rash, I show the rash. But if you don't, I won't show the rash. So anyway, let me tell you about Manscaped. The leader in below-the-waist grooming. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and the skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So check out manscaped.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsStation.com. How about Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com? You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox. Do you like CBD? Do you enjoy CBD? Do you want to try CBD? Try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Their tropical tasting Bayox is fantastic, and you'll absolutely love their Hindu Kush. That clocks into the chart, topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu Kush. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use 20% off, or use promo code Farzy for 20% off. How about that? Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people that are. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me recount some things there with Austin Krell. First off, again, the draft is tonight. He doesn't think Tobias Harris is back, so that leaves it very much open that he could be traded in the next couple of days or even on draft night. So we'll be keeping our ears to the ground as far as that goes. Also, he is definitely in the line of thinking, citing a source, that James Harden is going to be back in Philadelphia, but it won't be for the ultimate max deal. It'll be a 2-year deal maybe at max money in those 2-year deals, which does present a bit of a problem. So, yes, as far as free agency goes, Sixers aren't going to be busy. The Sixers are not going to be busy in that realm. So that's where we're at right there. Ain't it fun? All right. April. Good morning, April. Sean Gillespie. Good morning. T-Bro. Show the rash. Thank you, T-Bro. As long as it's only on your forearm you're scratching, Sean Gillespie. You dirty dog. Sean Kilrain. Good morning. Go Sixers. Good morning, everyone in Farzy. I can't wait for tonight. There you go Sixers. That's what I want to see. The excitement. The excitement in the air. We're all excited. Good morning, everyone. And Farzy, April. April, wash it with Dawn dish soap to get rid of the oils. Mix some baking soda and water into a paste and put some on it. Thank you, April. I would have never done that. I might even try that. First step, get baking soda. Feel free to PayPal me a copay fee. April, you got it. Sean Kilrain, with all the trade of getting Paul Goldschmidt, would you trade for pitching like a guy like Lance Lynn? Thoughts, by the way, he threw for 16 Ks. Oh, yes, I have seen Paul Goldschmidt, who is an MLB.com, put it out there. Paul Goldschmidt is a likely landing spot for him is first base with the Phils. I definitely think it makes sense. I'm a huge Paul Goldschmidt fan. My only thing is the Phillies don't have a plentiful farm system at all. The good news is that they have Bryson Stott, who's young, Alec Boehm, who's young. Obviously, they have Ranger Suarez, who's young. They got some good young players already at the major league level. They're going to be spending a lot of money on Trey Turner for the foreseeable future. They're going to be spending a lot of money for the next 5-6 years with, 8 years with Bryce Harper. No, 5 years with Bryce Harper because it cuts off, $22 million in the final 3 years? Either way, in the foreseeable future, they're spending a lot of money, as we know. So I'd like to know that they've developed some talent to come up and help take those spots because it's not going to be carried by Boehm and Stott for the foreseeable future as far as young talent goes. So I would be careful. I am definitely kicking the tires on Paul Goldschmidt. I'm seeing what the asking price is going to be. A power hitting third baseman like him, especially with the year he had last year, he's definitely somebody that a lot of people are going to be interested in. I am kicking the tires at least. I don't think they're going to have the opportunity to go after pitching. I think you're not going to be adding a legit fifth starter. I think what you're going to be looking for in the second half of the season is Christopher Sanchez to start more games for you. I think you're going to be looking for Andrew Painter to come up from the minors and make starts for you. But I don't think the Phillies are going to be trading for a starting pitcher. I don't think that's happening. They have 4 starting pitchers. Aaron Nola is the one that has struggled the most. I showed you guys the numbers yesterday from Corey Simon. He put the numbers together. In games started by starters, the Phillies have the worst record under Aaron Nola. The only pitcher they're under 500 when he starts is Aaron Nola. That's not good. And I said it about Trey Turner. There's a better brand of baseball in Trey Turner, and so far this month we have seen it. Now looking at Aaron Nola, I think there is a better brand of baseball from Aaron Nola that we have not seen yet this season for an extended period of time. You finally have a guy like Ranger Suarez putting together. You finally have it being put together by a guy like Zach Wheeler, for instance. So I don't think they make a trade for pitching. If they do, it's going to be bullpen help. But I don't think they make a significant trade for a starting pitcher because I think they have their 1-2-3 punch, especially for the playoffs. And yes, I do think they're still making the playoffs. But when it comes to everything else, I think they're going to rely on an in-house move to help their fifth starter rotate. If you're trading for a fifth starter, you're not going to be giving up a lot. So I don't think anything's going to go there. If they do anything, it'll be to get more of a bopper there at first base. It'll be somebody to take over for Cody Clemens. But it is quite the nod to Cody Clemens that they just weren't waiting to replace him, that he earned that starting spot over Derek Hall. So that is interesting. But I am considering Paul Goldschmidt. I'm not trading for Lance Lynn. Strider gives up a lot of homers, but a solid pitcher. And it's June bombs for everybody. Sean Kilrain, I like it. Good morning, Farzy. It's a John Cheeseborough. Just hit baseballs, Farzy. And I just hit baseballs, Farzy. There you go. I didn't go to college. I just hit baseballs. I put that on a T-shirt for Nick Castellanos. By the way, I'm late to this party, but I saw this behind-the-scenes thing with his boy Liam. The relationship they have is fantastic. It's a beautiful piece. I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know. I saw it was like on Instagram Reels or something like that. It was fantastic. I think MLB put it out, but it was fantastic. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? There was no logic to the Phillies recently. That's what's so baffling. John Cheesebro, hello again. Anybody see Dan? The corner is calling. Go Sixers. The starting pitcher is way better. That helps. Absolutely. To me, the main issue with the Phillies is, John, Phillies aren't in better position. The weirdness that is Aaron Nola and bullpen games. Oh, the reason why the Phillies are not in a better position is because of Aaron Nola and the bullpen games. I agree. That was when they asked me about what's something the Phillies need to improve upon. I was like, Aaron Nola? Aaron Nola needs to improve upon Aaron Nola. To me, the main issue is the Phillies aren't in a better position. Oh, I'm sorry, John. I just read the same comment twice. And it's crazy the Phillies and Braves are identical in the last 15 games. Isn't that bonkers? It's absolutely crazy. John Cheeseborough. Big time Sean. Braves are still the Braves, but the Phillies are much different than the last series they played. I agree. All right, John, I have to do this. Bleep the Mets. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Bleep the Mets. Step right up and bleep the Mets. In context, it sounds odd. Sean Gillespie. I really don't understand why the Sixers, besides Morey, want Harden back. I don't. I wish I knew. Well, the idea here, if I am the trial lawyer for the Sixers here, and I have to argue a case for Daryl Morey and for the Sixers to bring back James Harden, the case would be made as this. And I was kicking this around after the conversation with Austin Krell yesterday. The conversation is that Nick Nurse is the answer. The conversation is, the argument is that Nick Nurse knows how to organize the talent that he has in James Harden and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and PJ Tucker. He knows how to organize that talent so that you get the best possible brand of basketball from those players playing together. And James Harden buys into it. How James Harden is going to fit in defensively? Question. How Joel Embiid is going to be more of a facilitator? I'd love to see it. But with James Harden back, Nick Nurse can figure out a way to get more out of James Harden and get more out of everybody. And hopefully that'll be the case. That's the argument. By the way, guilty. I don't win that case. Anyway, I want Houston to get one scroll. What are we looking at here? It just skipped around on me. Sean Gillespie, still waiting for the frozen Harden wine pops. I didn't even know that's a thing, but I'll buy them. My wife will want them. Overall, it's a bad year not to have flexibility to want to spend big in free agency, but it's also a bad time to be stuck with James Harden. John, you're not wrong. What if he's using the Sixers to leverage Houston? I think he's definitely playing both sides. But as Austin Krell was just pointing out, Houston might not want to sign him to big money. They might not want to commit that money to James Harden either. So you could be in a situation here where Sixers might actually have the upper hand. So let's hope that's the case. Sean Gillespie, show the rash. Only one on the arm. Only the one on the arm, Sean says. Yes, it's only on the arm. No other rash. Sean, come on. Show the rash. Show the rash. T-Bro, show the rash. T-Bro, show the rash while doing peacock calls. Somebody said, show the penguin. I don't even know where the penguin is. Penguin got lost in the move. Penguin's probably in the garage. In all honesty, Penguin's probably in the garage. T-Bro, show the dang rash. All right, let me go over to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, see what you find, people. It's just Sean Gillespie and Babs. What's up, guys? Show the rash only on the arm. Babs, what's up? Farzy, level out. Strider hasn't been great this year. He's still getting strikeouts, but he's giving up runs. In fact, the Mets, who suck, scored 9 off of him a couple weeks ago. Strider ERA. Well, who is it? The Mets just allowed. Hold on. Beepo pop. The Mets just scored 8 runs off him. Yeah. Go figure. Strider ERA over 4. Laugh out loud. He's almost Nola. He's nothing special other than strikeouts here and there. Fair enough. Everyone is soft on the Sixers again. It's not the money or the years with Harden. It's him still being here. He shouldn't be here. Babs? I don't disagree. Sean Gillespie says, good morning to JAKIB Media. Good morning, JAKIB Media. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. All right, PJ, I'm going to go to you. Final ruling. Do I show the rash? Do I show the rash? All right, folks. For the people on the podcast, I don't know. Maybe it's not that nasty, but can we get involved there? Is it? Yeah, there we go. All right. Right here. So you see the redness here in the middle. Okay. Now that's where I thought it was a mosquito bite or something. So I naturally scratched the hell out of it because I'm a child. And then from this part to this part, from my elbow to my wrist, bumps. Yes. Drink it in. And that's me with limited scratching. So I hope you guys are happy. Is this the first? I got to talk to my friends at JAKIB Media and find out if that's the first rash ever put on camera. I want to see if it is, because, I like record books. You know what I'm saying? I like record books. There you go. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. As per usual, let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. I mentioned Spencer Strider's last 5 games and what he has done. Womp, womp. Not so great. Let's get to Ranger Suarez and his last 5 starts. All right, so there's the start against the Arizona Diamondbacks back on May 24th. 5 runs, 5 innings. No bueno. But since then, 4 straight outings, at least 6 innings, at most 2 earned runs. He's allowed 4 earned runs in his last 4 starts while going at least 6 innings. He's gone 7 in 2 of those 4 starts, and the strikeouts in over the last 2 games, 8 and 7. Nice to see it. And also allowing no more than 4 hits in those 2 games in his last 2 starts, and 2 walks as well. So Ranger Suarez, as you all know, has certainly figured it out. And I think it's a great sign that his last 5 games have been bookended with completely different outcomes against the Arizona Diamondbacks. 1 back on the 24th of May, 5 innings, 5 runs, and then 7 innings, no runs in that 10-inning performance. So Ranger Suarez pitched his guts out in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks in his start against the Arizona Diamondbacks and did not even get a win to show for it. He only has 1 win in his last 4 starts. Those results, of course, off ESPN are W's for the team, not W's for the starting pitcher, unfortunately. So when I see that, I see this. Just Damian Wood. What the hell, man? What? That's what I see. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys. You guys are great. I will be back with you guys tomorrow, hopefully breaking down another Phillies victory. This one over the Atlanta Braves, and also talking more about the NBA draft and what the Sixers could be doing with Tobias Harris come draft night. Talk about all and more on the Farzy Show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a wonderful job. For those on JAKIB Media, thank you so much. For those on the Farzy Show channel, thank you so much as well. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.